Hey everyone, good to see you here again today. We've been talking the last few days about what it means to live as an alien or a pilgrim or a stranger in this world. As a follower of Jesus Christ, we don't belong here on this earth. Our home is in heaven. And we come here to 1 Peter chapter 4, and Peter talks about how we are to live out our lives as aliens, as pilgrims, as strangers here on this earth. Listen to what he says. He says, since Christ has suffered in the flesh, arm yourselves also with the same purpose, because he who has suffered in the flesh has ceased from sin. He tells us as believers that we are to arm ourselves with the same purpose as Jesus Christ. That word that Peter uses there for arm ourselves was a word that was used during his day for military personnel who were to put on their armor for battle. It means to check and to double check and make sure you have everything that you need. And Peter he borrows that same term here in 1 Peter 4, and he says, hey, listen, as aliens, as pilgrims, as strangers who live in this earth, he says, make sure you put on, check and double check that you have the same attitude as Jesus Christ, that your thoughts are the same as Jesus Christ. And then he goes on in verse 2 and he says, so as to live the rest of the time in the flesh, no longer for the lusts of men, but for the will of God. Peter says, as we arm ourselves with God's thoughts and God's attitudes in our life, that the life that he gives, the rest of the life that he gives for us here on this earth, that we have a choice. We can either live it according to our own desires, or we can live it out living out the will of God in our lives. We really have a choice. And really the issue comes down to, what am I going to allow to master me? Who is my master? If Jesus is my master and I realize that this world is not my home, then I'm going to start to live for his will. If I get so blinded and I don't lose sight of the fact that I'm not an alien or a stranger in this land, then I'm going to start to live for my own desires. I'm reminded of a story of some natives who live in South America. And researchers had discovered that their village was actually on a fault line, that sooner or later an earthquake was going to come. And the residents of this village, they tried to tell them, you can make a choice. Either you can stay here and maybe hope the earthquake doesn't come, but one day it's going to come. Or you can move somewhere else where it's safe. The story that I heard, the residents of this village decided to stay where they were at. And one day the earthquake is going to come. And the same is true in my life, in your life, that we don't know when the end is coming. That's why Peter encourages us here. He says, the life that we live, the rest of the days that we have in this life, may we live it for the will of God, because I don't know, you don't know when the end is coming. And so I want to encourage you today, as pilgrims, as aliens, as strangers in this land, to live for the will of God.